Hey guys, welcome back to Scream Queen Stream. You all know me by this time. I'm Jessica Cameron, and I am here at Dark Delicacies, so shout out to them with one of my favorite women in horror currently, Jenn Wexler.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to meet you. I've known about you online, obviously, for a few years now. You live far away from me.
Yes,
right?
a little far.
You live in New York?
Yes.
Right, I always screw up, so you're in Brooklyn.
I'm in Brooklyn.
Thank God I didn't mess that up this time. Right, I'm Canadian, so we didn't study American geography as much as we should have.
Fair.
But you are here for business, here for work. Mm-hmm. Your latest film, The Ranger, came out everywhere on DVD, Blu-ray, VOD, etc. So definitely, you guys, before I get into too much detail, there's going to be a bunch of links in the description box below. So be sure to click there, get your copy, pay attention to independent films, and especially this lovely lady. So let's jump into it. So the first question I'm curious about, because I looked at your IMDb, and it appears that over the last 10 years, you've been really active in indie genre. But have you always been interested in genre, like even as a child?
Yes, absolutely. When I was a kid, I was that kid that would hang out in graveyards after school and try to get my friends to like come and do seances with me. I've always been into creepy stuff. When I was maybe 5 years old, I fell in love with a TV show that you may know called Are You Afraid of the Dark, which shot in Canada, I believe. Yeah. It's a Canadian TV show, which is amazing. Love that show. Still obsessed with it. Really excited for the reboot that they're going to do that's coming out later in the year. And then when I got a little bit older, I saw Scream, and that was really, I was 10 years old when Scream came out, and that was really the movie that made me realize, oh, there's an entire horror genre, and now I need to go back and, watch every movie that has influenced this movie. And then, horror movies kind of became a best friend for me when I was a young, teenager, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. My family moved towns. So I had no friends in my new town, so horror became my best friend as I just tried to consume as much horror as possible.
And did it maintain that level of importance in your life as you grew up, or was there ever a point that you were kind of I'm not really into it?
No, I was always super into it, but I thought of it as I like horror movies. I didn't quite realize until I got a little bit older that there was an entire industry. There's an entire horror industry. So when I went to school in Philadelphia, the University of the Arts, where I studied screenwriting. And while I was there, I started doing an internship with a company called Fearnet, which is a horror TV channel.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And at the time, they were based in Philadelphia, so I was able to do my college internship there. And then when I graduated, it was at the exact same time the company was moving to Los Angeles. So I followed them out there. And then my first real full-time job was marketing coordinator at Fearnet. So that was really cool because it allowed me to discover, as I said, horror as an industry, and to meet filmmakers and to see how you promote horror on social media. And this was also the same time that Facebook was becoming a thing and everything. So I got to control the Fearnet Facebook page because I was the young new millennial girl who probably knew how to work Facebook. So that's what was happening at this time. It was very cool. Got to meet a lot of people, and actually that ended up leading me to start, while I was working there, I started making short films.
That's so fascinating. I love that Fearnet is still talked about, because for me it was a very special site.
Yeah,
right?
There was so much. Everybody that worked there, we were on the 5th floor of the Lionsgate offices, so it was very corporate. Except for us, we were these cubicles with all these kids wearing horror T-shirts, and get action figures and horror posters all around, and it was just a community of horror fans at its core. So it was cool.
What was the moment that you knew that you wanted to make films? Or do you remember?
I don't remember if there was a specific moment, but it's something I've always been interested in. I used to make, home films, movies and stuff. little sci-fi movies, like little alien invasion movies. Actually, I do remember the moment. So I think I was 15 years old, and I had a friend, and we were having this conversation, and my friend was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to be a fashion designer. And I felt this pressure in that moment to like answer back with something cool. And I was like, well, I'm going to be a filmmaker. And so I think that's the first time I like said it out loud. So yes.
I love that. And then you did. So I was going to ask you if you went to school for film, but you just mentioned that you did.
Yes.
Did that help you? And if so, how?
Okay, so yes, it totally helped me, but I don't know if I would advise everybody go to school for film. It specifically helped me because, so my major was screenwriting, and my classmate, his senior screenplay, we all had to write screenplays when we were, like features when we were seniors, and his was a version of The Ranger. So years later, I was like, yo, you remember that when I decided I wanted to direct my first feature, I was like, yo, do you remember that script you wrote in college? Can you find that, and can we work on it together and update it per our older sensibilities, and can I direct it? So I'm so happy I went to film school because that's how I met him. You know, he created The Ranger. So, but also there were other great things about it. I really learned I just got to study screenwriting for like 4 years. So it really was a great practice for me in terms of writing, in terms of learning about things like 3-act structure and character development and everything. And also, similarly to what happened with The Ranger, I just felt like that time period was so awesome because I don't think I really appreciated it at the time, but it was such a great time period because I was like allowed to just come up with cool ideas. Like that was what my job was at that time. And I was more excited to be like running around partying in Philly. Like I wasn't even fully appreciating having that opportunity, but it was cool, came up with a lot of ideas. And now when I am like, oh, I need a new project, I need a new idea for this thing, I so often find myself going back to these things I first came up with when I was younger. So for those reasons, it's cool. I don't think it's for everybody, and I would advise anybody who is interested in making movies, like the way you learn how to make movies is to make movies. So my real advice is if you're really interested, you should go out and make movies, make short films, and also work on film sets and meet people who are making films and learn from working on sets, from PAing, and just learning from the different department heads and figuring out like what you want your path in film to be.
That's really, really great advice. So now I wrote it. So you're actually reading my mind as far as like how my questions are laid out. Because my next question was like, let's talk about your directorial debut as far as feature-length films go, The Ranger, which I was so excited about because I was, first of all, blown away with the marketing, which now that makes a lot more sense given your background and history. It's not often that I see an independent film promoted on social media where I'm like, they're doing a great job marketing that movie. So I was really impressed with that, but also I love the concept. I actually haven't seen the film. I come to Dark Delicacies to buy all my films, and if you were in Los Angeles, you should do that as well. And it's like the only film that they don't have here.
Maybe they will
have
soon.
it soon.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk about The Ranger.
Yeah, so also, well, thank you for what you said about our social media, but also props to one of the producers, Heather Buckley, who is a social media crazy person, and she's awesome, and she is largely the reason why we've gotten the word out on social so well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what is I don't want to butcher it, I know what the storyline is, but let's give the audience a brief synopsis from your mouth.
Yeah, totally. So The Ranger is about a group of punk kids that get in trouble with the cops. So they go to the woods to hide out, where they come up against a park ranger he's a killer park ranger, and he starts to take them out one by one.
which sounds just like a really good time.
Yeah, that's what we, our company is called No Place to Party LLC. Like, that's what we labeled our production entity. It's a movie about partying and how when you're young, you just want to party, and adults keep telling you can't party, and they try to ruin your good time.
Now, I've seen so much buzz about this film, and especially in terms of labeling it punk rock horror, and there's several other acronyms like that. How do you feel that those are accurate descriptions of the film and or your style?
For The Ranger, absolutely. As a director, I'm really excited to discover different styles and different aesthetics based on the material. But for The Ranger, what we really wanted to do was bash together, 80s punk movies with 80s slashers, and then center it all around a girl who's trying to find herself. That was my goal. So in that, I wanted to look at these two worlds, the neons and the crazy colors and everything of the punk world, and then the vintage parkland types of vibes of the Rangers worlds, and then follow the punks into the national park and watch from a visual perspective and also from a musical perspective how those two worlds clash.
That sounds really exciting. Do you have I'm sure you have many great memories from set. Is there any that you'd like to share with us now?
So many awesome memories. It was such a fun experience. So we had a really small crew, a really small team. This was a total indie group of kids going out to the woods, making a movie together. And we only have, there's only a couple, 6 characters in the movie. So we really felt we were out in the middle of the woods. Like, we really had to climb mountains and stuff to get certain scenes. And we didn't have a ton of trailers or anything like that around. So it really felt very desolate. And I am terrified of the woods because I'm from the suburbs, and I've lived in LA, New York, and Philadelphia. So I haven't had a lot of time hanging out in the woods, which is maybe why I'm kind of attracted to it. But I would be scared that a bear would come onto set, and I was really scared about bear attacks. It might have just been a way. I think I was funneling my anxiety about making the movie through this anxiety about bears. I think that's actually what was happening. But fortunately, there were no bear attacks, so it was a success.
So you have no bear stories from The Ranger, actual bears?
We did not come across any actual bears, which is good. You don't want bear stories. But I did watch, I think another thing that fed into my fear of bears was that right before we started shooting, I watched the movie Backcountry. Have you seen it?
Yep.
It's a terrifying, don't watch it before you go into the woods. It's a terrifying bear story.
See, I grew up in small town Canada, so bears and wolves are pretty commonplace.
You're so used to it.
Yeah, it's but for me it's insects, right? Because we didn't have spiders because it gets so cold up there. You have them, but you don't ever really see them. They never really take full control like they do here in America because they're eradicated 8 months of the year. So, and we don't even have any poisonous that really get up to where I lived because they can't survive. So for me, I think it's a lot of the things that we don't see or that we're not used to.
Right.
But I remember being a child, and I've never been face to face with a bear, but I was on a school bus and people were like, oh, look, there's a grizzly bear or some kind of bear. We didn't know what kind it was, let's be honest. But it was not too far away, a safe distance from the school bus. But we're like, oh, look, bear. Or a giant wolf. On more than one occasion, I would be driving and be like, is that a dog? Nope, that's definitely a wolf. He looks pissed. I'm just going to keep driving.
We do have some wolves in The Ranger. So we got to work with real wolves, which was a very cool experience.
That must have been really frightening on some level. Because seeing them from afar and actually working with them, two very different things.
Yeah, it was really cool. The wolves were really chill. We went to a wolf preserve in right near Canada, right near the border between New York and Canada. And we discovered that if you want to make a wolf howl, all you have to do is howl at the wolf, and then it'll start to howl. That was a cool discovery. And I don't know if it was just those wolves because they were in this like special place, or if it's all wolves, but they were like super chill and we got really close to them. Like I even touched one. So I no longer have a fear of wolves.
Well, they say that they're all, like, that all dogs are descended from wolves, right? And I look at my dog and I'm like, how can you be scary in any way, shape, or form? Thank you guys so very much for joining us. Please stay tuned for part 2 of this interview with Jenn Wexler. It'll be coming out shortly. Don't forget the like button down below and also subscribe. I produce new videos every week. 10 billion bonus points if you join the Patreon.